Welcome to Unfiltered with Brenda Breland, where the only thing we take seriously is not taking life too seriously. I'm Brenda, mom, entrepreneur, straight shooter, and your go-to for saying all the things we've all been thinking. On this podcast, we're talking about life, business, and all the shit no one warned us about. Spoiler, I don't have all the answers, but I have a lot of opinions. Let's figure it out together, one unfiltered episode at a time. All right, we are going to be talking all things missing from healthcare services and providers. So if you are an injector, a chiropractor, a plastic surgeon, an esthetician, if you are inside of the health and wellness space, this episode is for you. Welcome to another episode of Unfiltered. I am your host, Brenda Breland, and we are going to dig into this. And I know this is kind of something outside the realm, right? Because I normally am talking to online coaches, but let's be honest, if you're in the health and wellness industry, it is all the same, right? And this is why a lot of you guys, I've worked in the industry for 9 years. Over the last 3 years, I've worked with 5 different businesses who are in office practices, right? Those are ranging from chiropractors to plastic surgeons to estheticians, injectors, all of them, right? And there's one thing that I've realized with working with in person and being someone who's built their practice or their coaching business online is that there are some gaps that need to be filled inside of the industry. And I have been able to take that and mesh this into some of these businesses. And one of these clients is going to generate over $1 million just this year. And so I know these things work. So I want to leave you, at the end of this episode, knowing how you can better attract and connect with your patients and your ideal patients and clients to help generate more revenue. Okay. So one of the biggest things, and we're going to start here, is with the expertise and the credentials. Okay. I want to start by saying, yes, I get it. I love that you went to school forever. I love that you're really fucking good at what you do, but I'm sorry, that is not enough for me to buy, especially when it comes to health and wellness industry. Okay. So let's be honest, guys. When we're thinking about this, these people have to trust you to do things like put needles in your face, crack your back, cut you open, right? Administer medication, give you supplement suggestions. These are not just little things, right? So we have to get out of the space of living on our credentials and our expertise and get more on the level of connection. And that's really what we're going to talk about here inside of this episode, and how we can really start approaching our practices and our coaching methodologies in a way that allows us to stand out and allows us to connect with our potential patients or clients on an emotional and a psychological level, and also creates trust, authority, and reoccurring revenue, which in this situation means reoccurring patients. They're patients who are going to continue to come back to us for different things because they trust us. Right? One of the biggest things, and I'm going to say this all the time, and I continually say it, is that you have to learn how to meet your patient or your client where they are at. And in order to do this, you have to be open to adapting your approach in a way that allows you to connect with your clients and your patients on an emotional and psychological level. Because why? Because those are the things that are triggering them to even want to buy, right? So your patient is in your office because they had some sort of buying trigger, right? Maybe they are losing fullness in their face. Maybe they have backaches. Maybe they had babies and their breasts are saggy and they don't feel like themselves. Maybe they have acne on their face. There is a trigger as to why they walked in your office, okay? Great, you know that trigger, and I know you can fix that, and you can tell me all day how you can fix it, but I need you to understand how I'm feeling, okay? So let's do an example of this. I walk into your office and, I don't have fullness in my face anymore. I was an athlete. I'm really feeling like I'm aging very quickly. I'm on camera all day, right? So when I come into the office, I want you to know, hey, she's on camera all day, and she doesn't feel like herself. So in that conversation with that patient, before they even, in a consultation even, I'm saying like, I get it. I can't imagine how you feel, not feeling confident in your skin and having to show up and be on camera all day, right? I can't imagine, feeding two kids and giving your body, to them, and then on the other side of that, looking in the mirror and not recognizing who you see, right? I can't imagine waking up and getting out of bed every day and having to like just stretch because like you literally just feel so much pain in your lower back, right? Right? Like I'm literally putting myself in a situation of what they're feeling and why they're even sitting in my office or on a call with me, right? And that is a piece that's really missing in the industry. So what I always suggest is, how can we make the mindset shift of sales to service with no persuasion, right? If you're connecting with these ideal patients and these clients from a place of service, and you're connecting on an emotional and psychological level with them, there's not going to be any reason or any place inside of your consultations or your sales process for persuasion. And I see this so often, and quite honestly, it gives me the ick. I hate it. Like, you should not have to talk anyone into joining your practice. You shouldn't have to talk anyone into buying your offer or your service or buying your medical grade skincare, right? They should feel and trust you so much that when you recommend something, they believe in it because you believe in it, right? And this is one of the first steps that you need to make, and really shifting the way that you run your practice or your coaching business to be able to, again, make true connections with your ideal patients and clients. And how that's going to start is you being willing to meet your client where they're at, right? And I know in the health and wellness industry that education is so important, right? But once I know about a patient's reason they're in the office or their pain point, then what I need to know is like, how much do they need to know about this process? What do they want to know? Okay. Because I will be 1000% honest with you guys. I personally have been in situations in aesthetics industry, where I was told what they were going to do in a procedure, and it made me so sick, where if I wasn't even told what was going on, I would have been fine. Right. So again, this is a very weird scenario, but in that situation, I remember leaving thinking like, shit, I wish you hadn't have told me what you were doing. And it could have been like, hey, how do you do with needles? Like, are you a person that wants to know exactly what's going on, or do you like a overview, right? That in that scenario, that would have been the practitioner meeting me where I was at and understanding like, hey, I know she wants to do this. She's here for the right reasons, but she doesn't do well with needles. She has communicated with me that like she might not feel great about it. So I'm going to communicate with her, hey, I'm not going to tell you this whole procedure until we're done, but here's an outline. I'm going to go in and we're going to do exactly what you wanted to in your cheeks. We're going to make these things fuller. We're going to do this, but we're not going to walk through the depths of it right now because I think you might not feel great about it. Afterwards, if you want to go through what we did, let's do it then. Right. And this is a very interesting scenario, but I'm very honest with you guys. And I think like this is how I've learned to help practitioners in this field and help other coaches, because I learn from every fucking experience that I have. Whether I'm stepping in my chiropractor office, I'm sitting in an esthetician chair, or getting injectables, I'm doing a consultation with a plastic surgeon, I learn and I watch and I see every fucking thing. Okay. And you have to be willing to tailor your approach based on their personality and really looking at what type of personality they are. Okay. When I come into an office, I know someone can probably get a vibe that I'm a straight shooter. I don't beat around the bush. Don't waste your time fluffing me. Like, let's fucking get to it, girl. Like, let's do it. If I could walk into every appointment and be like, hey, like, I'm no fluff. Like, let's fucking get to it, which most of the time it normally gets to that point. I do. But as the practitioner and as the provider, it's your job to understand, like, am I buying? Am I an emotional buyer? And what type of buyer type am I? Do I based on logic or emotion? And being able to understand and, again, meet me where I'm at, right? And this is where we can really start to shift on looking at how we base our conversations and how to shift our conversation from informational to transformative. Formital. I can talk to you guys, I swear. They gave me a podcast. That's wild. Anyways, and that's where you have to come in with that, right? Is like, yes, here's the information how I do it, but like, what are the benefits? And this is something I coach a lot with my clients is, yes, we can talk about the features all day long, which is your education and what you're sharing, but the benefits is their transformation. What are they getting out of this, right? So we have to remember, yeah, we can talk all day long about what we're going to do, but it always has to lead back to that transformation or that benefit. Otherwise, you're going to have a very hard time, again, connecting and getting buy-in from that potential patient or client. Okay, so now that we talked about like how we're really going to connect with the client, we talked about how we're going to meet them where they're at, we talked about how we're going to read the fucking room and understand how to connect with them from a point of where they're at in their buying process, and how we're going to transform them or take them from the information side of our conversation to the transformation side of that conversation. And that's where we go into the sales part, right? How do we create sales and how do we build rapport naturally through these conversations, okay? And here's where this comes in. Authenticity. Share a personal story. Make it relatable. If I'm coming into your plastic surgery office and I don't know, you live on a farm and you have chickens, and I'm talking about how I have kids and like I'm busy all the time and all of this, you can say, like, I don't have kids, but I have chickens and that's enough. I can't imagine how you're feeling, right? Like, that's relatable. And I think a lot of physicians, like, they think because they have these, you know, these credentials and they're working in these like high-end luxury offices that they can't be a fucking person. You got to be a person, you guys. And that's what's, again, going to help transition us into the next phase of the sales, which is authority. Establish your expertise without sounding salesy. And one of the biggest and easiest ways you can do this is by communicating through that emotion and relatability. Whenever I'm selling a program to someone, you better bet your ass that I'm going to communicate what we're going to do. And I'm talking as if they're already a client of mine, obviously if they're a good fit. We want to make sure that we make sure everyone's a good fit, and if they're not, we pass them off. That's a whole nother thing. But I'm talking to you like, all right, girl, like I totally see where you're at. You're struggling with this. Here's what I think we need to do. I think we do another consultation. At that consultation, we're going to do, or we'll do your next appointment. At that appointment, we're going to do 50 units of Botox, okay? You're a little on the edge, but I think this is a great place to start. I know you said you wanted to do filler. Let's start with the Botox. Let's get that in. Let's let that settle. See how you feel there. Then from there, we can go into talking about fillers and how we can, you know, add a little bit more volume in your cheeks or pull that, you know, snatch that jawline a little bit more. And then from there, we can kind of talk about X, Y, and Z. I'm building out the vision for them. I know not every practice maybe has a built out vision of like keeping them long term. Plastic surgery would be an example of this. Like, they're coming into you, they're not necessarily going to come back for surgeries a lot. So we have to build the vision out to them of the results. We have to say, you know, in the sales process, we have to share with them, okay, here's what's going to happen next. You're going to come in for your pre-op appointment. At that appointment, we're going to go over everything. I'm going to make sure that you feel super safe, feel heard. I'm going to know exactly what your vision is before we go into that room. Okay. At that appointment, we'll go over post-care, post-surgery stuff. We'll go over any supplements, any stuff any of the things you need to know, right? Like, this is not my forte, but you get what I'm saying. Then after that, we'll do your surgery. You're going to come out, you're going to feel amazing. And after that, then we're going to do your post-op and really look at the results, get your feedback from you, and then see if there's anything else that I can help you with to make sure that you have the results that you want. How does that sound? Like, again, I'm building out the bridge for them. I'm not saying this is going to be this much and here's this, blah, 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 blah. And then they're always going to ask you how much or what does that look like. And then you talk them through that process. But I'm focused on making them feel heard. I'm focused on getting them to understand the process of how I work. I'm getting them to understand that I see their results and the transformation that they want, and that I know I can help them get there. So that is in that authority. The next thing is in the alignment, matching your solution to their specific problem. And that's what I just kind of walked through that. So that last little exercise, I kind of walked through the authority and the alignment in one. But again, like making them understand that the issue that they're saying to you, whether it's, losing fullness in their face, they want to lose weight, they want their breasts to look better, whatever it is, you have to get them to understand that you understand that problem and you know how to fix it. And that's building that roadmap for them and communicating that with them. So as you get through this, as we get them as patients and we've built that trust through the things that we've done, then we can step into really, how do we keep them as reoccurring patients? Is there ways that we can upsell? And this is always part of the process with inside of the healthcare industry. I'm like the type of person who believes if you do these things above that we talked about, you're not going to have to upsell. They're going to want to upsell themselves. And if you do those things correctly, you essentially are building a solid foundational patient base that is going to be ride or die you. But say you're in an industry where upsells are being done. I like to talk about the aesthetics industry because it's very similar to what I've done for 9 years. But again, they all correspond and like connect. An example of this that I like to give is like you've given a facial to someone. That's the first time they came in. And you're done with them, you're asking them like, how do you feel? Like, how does your skin feel? Is there anything that, that I could have done better for you? And blah, blah, blah. No, let them talk, blah, blah, blah. Okay, awesome. I'd love to better understand your skin goals. Is there anything that you're seeing specifically that you want to work on? I have like this sunspot over here. And then I don't know if you notice this, but like I got like a lot of blackheads down here under my chin. Those are things, that's kind of one of the main reasons I came in to get a facial. Like I really want to start working on those things. Oh, okay. Well, I do see those things, and I think, what you're seeing is definitely valid. I do want you to know these are things that can be very easily fixed. We actually utilize this medical grade skincare, and based off of your facial, I can give you suggestions on even just 2 different products that we could add in today to help get you going in the next direction before your next facial. How does that sound? Oh, that'd be great. I'd love to see how much they are. Okay, I'm upselling. Not only did I just upsell products, I also said that she's coming in for a facial. She didn't tell me she was coming in for another facial, but I'm going to assume she is because I want her in and I'm going to get her to understand I can help her with these issues that she just communicated with me. And in that little spiel that I just gave you, I did all of those things that I talked about above. I connected with them. I met them on an emotional level. I heard them. I built out the bridge and getting them to understand where they're at and what she's seeing on her face and how we're going to get her to the result, right? So like you can have inside your practice, you can have like scripts, so to speak, of like how you transition people through the process of getting them to understand. Most of these things are going to be a journey. Healthcare, aesthetics, all of these things, wellness, it is a journey. It's typically not a one-shop stop. It just never is. So being able to understand how you're going to continue to support your patients and utilizing things like upsells are. With that, I am not a big proponent of like a dry sales script, okay? I think if I was to say like go use a sales script, everything that I said earlier would be like out the door because you're not understanding the patient. You're not communicating with them on an emotional level. You're not understanding where they're at. You're just purely trying to sell a product or a service from what they just bought. And to me, that feels gross also. So I would just recommend don't fucking do that. But have a funnel, essentially, that when someone comes in, you can solve the problem. So if you have other services or things that you can help them with, utilize that as a way to help them and serve the patient. Okay? So really when we look at this is, it all comes down to being able to connect and communicate. Obviously, your brand matters. So if you have a shitty brand and it's stale and that's what you're putting out online and your website feels that way and you have no nurture sequences and all that, that's a whole nother thing, right? Believe me, this is something I love. I love nurture sequences. I love marketing. And with my aesthetic and my in-person businesses, this is something that we're digging into constantly is how can we make our patients feel more like our friends and not just not just a person or not just a sale. So really what I want to challenge you guys to do is to apply one of these tips. I want you to go into your next consultation and think of these things. And I want to challenge you. See what comes up. See how you felt. See the vibe that you got from that person sitting in front of you, whether it's in front or on Zoom. And then I want you to DM me. Tell me how it went. Tell me how, like, if something felt weird. Right? Did something feel weird? Did you get kind of stumbly because you were like trying to get to know them? Or did the person kind of seem like blocked off, like there was a wall? These are all things that you're going to learn through this process. But I am a firm believer, if all of us in the healthcare industry, whether or not you have credentials behind your name or not, can get better at this process, not only are we going to see your business grow more, you're going to see happier people in general coming out of your practice, around you, all of the things. And let's be honest, you're not in the health and wellness industry because you want to make money. You started here because you wanted to help people feel better in one way or another, or look better, or feel more confident, or whatever it is. So we have to get back to the bottom and the foundation of that in our businesses and in the way we sell. Okay. So I hope you guys found this helpful. I hope to see and hear from so many of you guys in my DMs, because I want to help you make this process as seamless as possible and really help you guys grow your practices, whether they're online, in person. I'm here for it. So thank you guys all so much for joining me on this badass episode of Unfiltered. And as always, I'll see you next week.
That's it for this episode of Unfiltered with Brenda Breland. If you're loving the real talk and unfiltered vibes, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. It helps more badass people like you find the show. Got questions, stories, or just want to say hey? Let's chat on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, remember, life's messy, but you don't have to do it alone. Keep it real, keep it unfiltered, and I'll see you next week.